Hey, Shalom, Shalom, want to start with souls by giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Dash, that belongs to the apostles of GMS, and honors to brothers doing the work in truth, war, sincerity. This one's a quick one, inspired by, events at camp over the weekend, mainly, the apostles' camp where vocab came down, paid the apostles a visit. Vocab and friends, and also what happened at our camp, right? You had an individual coming along, and a lot of people, faith is just too easy an answer for them, right? They think that this thing is so complicated, which there are trials and tribulations, but ultimately, salvation is simple, right? People want us to give a deep breakdown of, why we believe or this or that, but ultimately it just comes down to one key word, one key ingredient, which is faith, right? And we give them that answer, and it just doesn't suffice for them. So I'll get into the scriptures. It's Ephesians 2:8, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of the Most High, right? So when you're saved, right, you're saved by your faith, because when you go through certain things, right, it's to prove your faith, right, whether you are worthy or not. But the flip side of it is you can't give yourself faith, right? If you lack faith, one of the things you're told to do is to ask for faith, right? So I'll get that after if I can. It says, but it says also not of works, lest any man should boast, right? So a man, if you're saved by works, then it's just the guy that does the most, right? But if he's not doing it in sincerity, right, then it means nothing, right? Because ultimately it comes down to faith, right, which is a gift of the Most High, right? Any man lack, no. So let me just try and find it. I can't find the one that I was looking for, but basically, if you're lacking in faith or in anything, you ask the Most High, right? See, is this around here? Same thing. If you lack wisdom, you pray to the Most High for wisdom. Anything spiritually that you lack, if you pray to the Most High, right, the Most High will, in His time, and if He seems fit, give it you, right? Scriptures talk about how, if I can say how you spell it, Apollo. This is 1 Corinthians 3:6. It says, I have planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High gave the increase, right? Once again, reiterating the fact that this is all the Lord's work, right? And such is faith, right? It says, Acts 16:30 says, and brought them out and said, sirs, what must I do to be saved? And they said, believe on the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, and thou shalt be saved, and thy household, right? And that was simple, right? And they spake unto him the word of the Lord, and to all that were in his house, right? And then he goes and says how he was baptized straight away, right? But that's easy. It's nothing complicated in that at all, right? But it's speaking about the fact that ultimately it comes down to the belief, right? To have faith in the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, right? That he is Lord, right? That he came in the flesh, right? And all of the things that pertain to this, right? Because what does the scripture say in Acts 7:38? Is it 48? No, it's not this one. John 7:38. It says, he that believeth on me, right, so has faith on me, as the scripture hath said, right, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water, right? Once again, going expounding the point that I just made, And that when you believe in the Lord, you have to believe in the volume of the book, right? Because he's the word. When he says, I came in the volume of the book, so you got to believe on him as the scripture hath said. You have to believe that he was born of a mother and father. You have to believe that he was a so-called black man, right? You have to believe everything as the scripture describes him as being, right? Because otherwise you don't then truly believe, right? You're ultimately creating your own Yahushua in your own mind, right? So where were we? Yeah, so yeah, as I said then, and they said, believe on the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, and thou shalt be saved, and thy household, right? Because ultimately, when we do this, yeah, for ourselves, right? Scriptures talk about seek out thine own salvation, right? But also in the hope that our household can be saved, whether it's, a woman or children, whatever, right? In the hope that, the Lord has mercy on those individuals and saves them. Right, on this side, they might, assume that you're being selfish because you never want to spend a Saturday with them, whatever, what have you, right? Or whenever it is that brothers go out to the camp, right? But the truth of the matter is, if if you get saved and your woman's still with you when the chariots come, or whatever, what have you, then she gonna be saved too, right? This is Romans 10:9. It says that if thou shalt confess, see if there's anything above. Verse 8, but what saith it? The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy heart. That is the word of faith which we preach. Right? That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, right? And once again, you got to confess him in the I'm struggling to speak at the moment. You got to confess him in the volume of the scriptures, right, which he came, right, and that is everything that the scriptures say of him, and you have to confess it in sincerity, right, and in faith that those things are true, right, that he did walk on water, that he did, because people will scoff and say, well, but physics and this, that, and the other. Well, fuck physics, right? Scripture says, by all things are made by him and for him, right? So if he made the waters, right, he made physics, right, he made the elements, whatever, what have you, right, which means he can manipulate those things. Well, that's like saying a child playing with Play-Doh can't do what he wants with that Play-Doh. Well, he might make a Play-Doh, I don't know, Play-Doh knife or whatever, what have you, but he can break it with Play-Doh paper or whatever. You get the shit analogy I'm trying to give. Forgive my French, right? But the point is being made, right? You got to believe that those things happened. You can't have doubt in your mind. Yeah, see, the scripture says, "Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind," right? Which you ain't gonna come into this and then immediately believe everything. Well, the Lord might have it, whereby that is the case, right? But some men need more persuading than others, right? Friends, you got the thing with where is that? Right, yeah, it says John 20:29. It says, Yahushua saith unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Right, so for Thomas, he had to see to believe. Right, what did Yahushua say? He says, blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. Right, so that is having faith. Right, that the things that they were told were true. Right, the things of these scriptures. Right, some people are going to have to see the chariots for them to believe. Like, they might know about the truth at this point, but some might have to see the chariots for them to be like, oh shit, that is true, right? And then they'll have, if the Lord has mercy on them, he has mercy on them, right? But every man has to be persuaded, in the way in which the Lord wants him to be persuaded, right? This is a nice and quick one, 2 Corinthians 5:7, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Right? So everything we do in faith, right? And that's rather we aim to do in faith. Right? We believe through faith, right? We don't know how things are gonna go. We know all hell's gonna break loose, but we have faith that the Lord will protect us as his as is promised. For instance, you read that there will be famines, right? But we have faith that the Lord will feed us, right? So Isaiah 65:13 says, "Therefore thus saith the Lord power, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed." Right? So we have faith that those things are true. And also you have GMSFAQ 2:10 says, "Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?" Right, so there are countless examples in the scriptures when people had faith on the Most High and the Lord delivered them from the situations they are in. Right, and I believe it's a precept here. Right, it says Romans 15:4, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning." Right, so those stories were written for our learning, right, so that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope, right? Now, that scripture basically breaks itself down, right? It's Galatians 2:16, "Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yahushua Mashiach, even when we believed in Yahushua Mashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of Yahushua Mashiach, and not by the works of the law." Right, for by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. Right, so yeah, you can keep the law perfect, which is impossible to do on this side, but ultimately it goes down to faith, right? And once again, to close, apparently I still have one more. That's my last one, right? In fact, yeah, it's perfect. But Hebrews 11:6, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him." Right? So if you ain't got faith, you can't please the Most High. But the trick is, the Lord is cold in that the Lord's the one that gives you the gift of faith in the first place, as we read in Ephesians 2:8. Right? So, hey, as always, Lord's will that was edifying. And if you're watching these videos in sincerity, then thank the Most High for the faith He has given you, and ask for more faith, right? Because you see, for instance, in the there was an exchange. I don't know the guy's name, right? But with the with Apostle Taha and the guy, the guy with the tattoos, right? That came up in the video with vocab. That was basically kept asking the same question. Apostle Taha kept giving him the same answer, like, look, faith, faith, faith. When you watch that, and you might laugh, but the truth is he's just lost. Right, in scripture says in 2 Corinthians 4:3, "If our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost." Right, he's just lost. He just can't see it. Right, as simple as the answer was, he just can't see it. Why? Because the answer of faith is just too simple. They want this extravagant breakdown, 50 pages, buy my book, part 1, part 2. Right, but that's not what this thing is about. Right, so till next time, I'll say shalom.